Hi everyone, and welcome to a pretty noisy Paris. I'm running around testing a bunch of different coffee shops, and just met up with Jordan, who works at Terres de Cafe here in Paris, a local roaster. You should make sure to check out his coffee shops. He's also Ibrick world champion. He competed in Brewers Cup a lot of times. He has a pretty interesting setup, and we're doing both plastic brewing and a hybrid brewer setup together with him, as well as actually tasting Ibrick together, which is kind of cool. So come with me up and enjoy the video. So we're on the inside here in Paris, the first video actually in Paris for this trip, which is kind of exciting. And we're gonna brew a lot of different coffee here, no? Yeah, we will. Exciting. So tell us a little bit, what do we have here? I see a very clear color theme. You like black stuff.
Yeah, I like it.
And you have pretty fancy setup as well, right?
Also.
Do you want to walk us through a little bit just the different kind of pieces of equipment that you have?
Sure, of course. So here we have two drippers.
Yep.
I'm going to showcase two simple recipes to use.
Very cool.
We have the plastic April dripper, and we have the hybrid April dripper.
Yep, the very first generation. Yep.
So we have also two coffees. I'd like to showcase why I'm using the April dripper for some kind of coffees and why I'm using the hybrid dripper for another kind of coffees.
Okay, very cool.
Basically, we have two coffees here. Yurgachefe Chelbesa, Ethiopian washed coffees. So I'm gonna use this coffee with the classic April dripper.
Okay.
And we have a coffee that I know we both like from Alejo Castro. Hi Alejos, if you're watching. From Volcan Azul in Costa Rica. It's an SL28 varietal, anaerobic fermented.
And this is a very special, this varietal is, let's say, my kind of go-to favorite version of the SL. I think basically all things considering, I really like this coffee. And if you guys paid close attention, you see that both of these coffees are from Terres de Cafe.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Because I'm working at Terres de Cafe.
Pretty much, basically.
Working at Terres de Cafe since 5 years now as head of quality. I do some trainings as well, part of the competition team, competitor or coach, and some fancy stuff.
Yeah, definitely. At Terres de Cafe is, whenever I go to Paris, I would always stop by for a coffee. I always really enjoy it. It's, let's say, a bit of store coffee bar concept, not your classic cafe in that sense, which I really appreciate. And I've been running into the founder up at Volcan Azul. That's kind of how we first kind of got properly interacted. So it's a really cool space. You should check it out when you're in Paris. Cool. So we're talking washed on plastic, anaerobic or alternative processed on the hybrid, right?
Yeah.
Let's get going, and then we'll talk a little bit about why, right?
Sure.
Maybe also explain why you have a very fancy grinder standing in your
because I think grinder is the most important thing when it comes to coffee. I mean, the coffee should be good,
of course,
or very good. Water as well, but for me, the grinder is more important than the machine or something.
Yeah.
And this grinder, usually it's in our shop, but sometimes it's here. So now for the sake of the video, it's here. And we also use this grinder for some competition as well.
No, very good. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like your everyday home grinder that is just standing here.
I'm trying to steal it, but...
Try to steal from Terres de Cafe. Fair enough. So which one are we grinding now?
Okay, so we are grinding the Ethiopian washed.
Yep.
If you want to smell.
So maybe tell us a little bit about Chelbesa in general, right?
Yeah, it's a very classic Ethiopian wash profile from the Chelbesa region.
Yeah.
To me, these coffees reflects very well this kind of region in Ethiopia. It's about black tea, floral, elegant stone fruits as well.
Yeah.
Very yellow, white stone fruits.
Yeah.
I love it because it's very clean, bright, sweet.
Yep.
Not the easiest coffees to brew or to enjoy.
Yep.
When you start as a barista, but
why do you think that is? Why do you feel that they're a little bit more difficult to brew?
Because they are very subtle.
Yeah.
They are subtle, refined, They're not booming like heavy processed coffees, or even a natural. If you try a natural in comparison with washed coffee, it's very different.
It's very different. I think that's been like a bit of a generational shift, because when I started in coffee, which makes me feel very old, but like Washed Ethiopian was actually the most flavorful and intense coffee, you know? Because we were always kind of so fascinated with the intensity of the florals and the citrusy. But I think now, as Jordan was saying as well, is that we're in a position now where a lot of the, we have more processing driven coffee, more intense coffees. So yeah, interesting backstory on the SL28, right? Because we don't work with anaerobic processed coffees at April. But I know for a fact that this is like Alejo's, I think, favorite processing method, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen a producer as excited about anaerobic processed coffees as Alejo is, right, in general. And I think, and I mentioned this before, whereas the SL28 has this, also for us, like we buy a natural version of this coffee from him, which we don't always do from other producers. But it has this thing where actually, if you want to make something a bit more process driven, this varietal seems to be very optimal for it in a way.
Yeah,
because it keeps some of the clarity and the acidity and kind of fresh notes as well. So excited to try.
Yeah, that's why I picked this coffee, is because it's a fermented coffee, but it's very clean. Yeah. Still bright. You can still taste, let's say, variety traits. Sure. In my opinion, I mean, I don't like to labelize any varietal or country, but to me, SL28 is fruit-driven, berries, red fruits forward, and you can still taste it with this coffee. And the sweetness that is so distinctive from Volcan Azul, you have everything in this cup. So for
go for it.
Yeah, so my recipe is pretty simple. For the washed honey natural coffees, I'm using, it could be ceramic, glass or plastic. I do prefer the plastic because there is no heat retention.
Yep.
It's more sustainable as well because it doesn't break so much.
True.
So very simple recipes, 2-pour technique, as you do at April. 100 grams and another 100 grams.
Yep.
I let it sit for 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm watching the clock kind of ticking here, and I
let it sit for 1 minute for a very simple reason. This grinder with a very low amount of fines. Yeah. And another reason, the paper filter I'm using Sibarist. Fast paper filter. I can
see because it doesn't fit perfectly in the brewer. So I go, what is that? Okay, but you actually have the fast wave filter. Yeah. Interesting.
I like this kind of filter, and if you're pairing it with this kind of burst, it gives you a high clarity of flavors. Yep. Very high clarity of flavors. So to me, it's sustain and enhance the complexity in the cups. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm using it. And that's the reason why I'm pushing the first pour until 1 minute.
Yeah, because you need a bit more contact time.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I could also see, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're looking at almost 800 micron?
Yes.
Yeah, so like quite coarse grain size and a very kind of quick brew, I think, here for like a Washed
1 minute
Ethiopian
and
coffee.
40, it's
1 minute
done.
40 is pretty much done, yeah. Efficient. And then the hybrid, you start the same way, 100 gram pour.
Yeah, 100 gram pours until 40-45 seconds. And I'm locking the valve and I'm pouring 100 gram until, it depends, 1 minute 40, 1 minute 50.
Okay.
It will depend on the, let's say I will do a first run. Yeah. I will adjust the grind size and then I will adjust the contact time in the immersion time. Okay. For the aftertaste. Yeah. I think you can, for the overall balance, you can play with the grind size, with what I want to extract. But the aftertaste, I mean, you have a lot of variables, but I like to play with this kind of variable
Yeah, very
geometry time.
Did you make much difference in the grind size between the two coffees? It looked like you used the same, pretty much.
Almost the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8 for the Ethiopian, 8.1 for the Volcan Azul.
Yeah, so a little bit coarser for the
a little
hybrid
bit.
brewer.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a hybrid brewer thing, or is that more because of the coffee you're using?
Because of the coffee.
Because of the
Yeah,
coffee.
because of the coffee. I don't want to push the extraction too far, otherwise we will extract a lot of generics, flavor notes that are coming from the fermentation.
Fair enough. And just to double check here, the paper filter you're using here is the same.
Also.
So it's still like the fast Sibarist.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to be honest and say I haven't actually tried yet, so I'm kind of excited. I mean, we developed one with them.
You have your own,
without the waves, right?
Yeah.
But this is also really interesting, right? Paper filter makes such a big difference. Right?
Of course. Yeah.
I can see also you have some pretty fancy water minerals standing there as well.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's something you're using now?
I'm not using it right now for the brew we are testing, but on a day-to-day basis, I'm using it to fix a brew. Let's say it lacks a little bit of vibrancy, acidity. I will use, let's say, tonic, for example.
Yep.
Body, roundness, I will use jam. So I'm speaking about Apex, minerals.
Yeah, which we're actually, so we have our own Apex thing coming out now.
Okay.
Which is, I always gave them a little bit of shit because I think you can taste the minerals very clearly in the coffee. So I think we figure out a way to dial that down a little bit.
In a way, I agree with you. I mean, when we do some competition, for example, Brewers Cup or Ibrick coffee, we can bring our own water. And I like to play with mineral, of course. But at home, I like to be casual and to just fix with one drop in a brew.
And when you say fix, you actually put a drop into the finished brewed coffee,
after
right? So it's actually not
coffee.
Before the brew, it's after the brew.
Yeah.
Interesting. But what is the water you use now for these
It's
brews?
a very low mineral content water.
Okay.
It's very famous in France. It has
One
about 20 or 30 ppm.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, low on everything pretty much.
Yeah, low in everything. I like
a little bit higher on sodium.
to have a very low mineral water
Bicarbonates.
for my brew. Even
Because
when
you feel
closer in a way to the terroir, the varietal, the coffee in itself. Even the negative points, if the let's say the green is not perfect or the roast is not perfect,
sure,
you will feel it.
Yeah.
And minerals will not cover the defects.
The intensity of this is. I mean, I get again back to what I said before. Like when I started in coffee, a Washed Ethiopian was like the most intense thing you could get, almost on the cupping table. You know, you cupped that, all of a sudden something was like jasmine and peach, which to be fair, they don't like Washed Ethiopian coffees don't taste the same as they did. I'm not sure if you agree on that, but I feel that very strongly.
Yeah.
But I mean, smelling this, the SL28 Anaerobic versus this, like I understand, even though I prefer the smell of the Ethiopian, I understand why most people would think this is more interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's quite intense, I would say. And these we recognize. Very first version of the April cup that came together with the very first version of the brewer. That we did.
I still like it very much.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, actually.
It's not here because you are here, of course. There is other paper filter and something, but these cups, I think, gives you a very, very clear cup, clean as well, sweet, if the coffee is sweet, obviously. But if the brew is good, it's going to be very nice. Yeah. I like to drink espresso as well in this cup.
In this? Yeah. It opens it up really well, and I think also the rim and the size of it makes a lot of sense. Very good. What are we? I'm assuming you've been part of deciding the flavor notes of these coffees. Given that's your title.
Yeah, I know this coffee so well. So
you know it very well. What are we? I mean, this is in French, so I'm gonna.
It's in French, so we have jasmine, we have peach, we have black tea, and we have raspberry. At the moment, I think this coffee tastes more like white peach, nectarine as well. Yep. Black tea, of course. Yep. Red fruits. Yeah, sometimes when the cups cool down. Yeah, during the cooling cycle, I think so.
Very good. And this one I can even read myself.
Yeah.
Bananas, exotic fruits, or like tropical fruits,
Yeah.
and dark chocolate. Kind of. Okay,
Yeah,
kind of.
I think these flavor notes are a bit old, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we'll see in a moment, but I think it's more into Black Forest cake.
Yeah, like a Schwarzwald. So for those of you that don't know, south of Germany, pretty much like a dark chocolate cherry.
Dark chocolate cherry,
with
a
alcohol.
hint of alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, it's very unusual to run a Washed Ethiopian with a brew time under 2 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Because usually in my experience, they kind of, even if you don't want to, the contact time becomes quite a lot more.
Of course. Yeah.
For the people like at home that are a little bit nerdier, maybe, do you have like a reference TDS you go for in terms of strength?
1.3.
Yep.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which makes, I think that's very much in line to what I'm looking for for as well. It's interesting because I've been in Paris now for 2 days, I think, roughly, and there's been a lot of Washed Ethiopian coffee. It seems like a lot of people are pushing it quite hard, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is quite interesting. One thing we haven't actually talked about is roast date. How important is that, and what is the roast date on these coffees?
The Ethiopian have been roasted a month ago.
Yep.
And the Volcan Azul 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So both
on
kind
the
of
lower end.
well-roasted coffees. Yep.
Yeah.
And you guys still have the 35, or you have a 70 now?
We have the
probably have
7, 15, and 35.
Yeah. Okay.
Not
Very
15,
good.
sorry. 35. 35
Yeah.
and 30.
No, very good.
Yeah.
And this is on the 35 or the 7?
This is on the 35.
35. Very good. And I believe you guys were one of the first Loring roasters, right? Maybe I'm lying, but in France.
Maybe.
Maybe I'm lying, or maybe I'm
Terres de
right.
Cafe or...
And there's a guy in the south of France I know that had it for a longer time. I forget the name.
Okay.
Close to Bordeaux, I think, or to the coast. But I mean, they have one as well, Balcon.
Yeah.
I quite like this. It's very clean.
Yeah.
It's like very crisp actually, and it's. I looked at the brew time and I was thinking, okay, but then this is probably not gonna have a sufficient enough strength to kind of carry the flavor notes, but it does, I think.
Yeah.
It's like well textured, it's crisp. A lot of the white peach, kind of white florals vibe to it.
I have some lychee as well.
Yeah.
Juicy acidity, yeah, crisp. A little bit short in the finish. Slightly dry. Maybe it's my palate.
No,
it's 5 a.m., but...
Sure. And I had a lot of coffee today, so that could be it as well. No, but a little bit, but not in a, I think it's more in a complementary kind of zesty citrus vibe to it. So not in a way that it detracts too much, I think, from the overall cup experience.
Yeah.
But just for reference and kind of for fun, let's say you would add some kind of tonic into this now, or Apex, what would you add? Like, would you run some...
I think I would divide the brew in 2. Or 3, of course. One without, one with tonic, and one with lilac.
Okay.
One with tonic for a reason I would like to enhance the crispness, the acidity, the brightness.
Yeah.
And was with the lilac to enhance the tactile, to give it a little bit more round.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have a little bit of a surprise here, which is very fitting. It's not every time you get to try this, but I think we're running an Ibrick as well, for sure, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing it in this video because it's good for you guys to see something different. And I'm just curious, right? Do you want to walk us through a little bit of what you have in mind?
Sure, of course. We are gonna do.
Is this like the winning recipe vibe, or is this like a better version, different version?
It's our at Terres de Cafe recipe for every Ibrick. So it's very simple. We pour some coffee into our pot or Ibrick. We put some water in it, and then we serve. The only twist will be I'm gonna use Paragon.
Especially using a Paragon. And so that's basically a shilling stone for those of you that haven't caught up on that.
The idea with it is to capture volatiles and to sustain the perception of sweetness as well in the cup.
Which is really interesting. I mean, I've tried it on espresso a few times. Think it makes a little bit of a difference sometimes, maybe not on lighter roasted coffee. And then I tried it on filter coffee, which I don't really think makes much difference. Yeah. But I've never ever tried it on an Ibrick, so I'm quite curious.
I agree with you. For the espresso, we tried, and I'm not convinced, honestly.
It's not consistent enough.
It is not. Yeah. And for filter, it's 50-50. It depends on the coffee, but I think it depends also on the roast dates, on so many things. For Ibrick, it's 100% better with the Paragon.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's not my idea to use the Paragon. I have to give credits on Mariam Erin. I know you did a video with her, and I see her.
When she competed, of course.
Yeah.
No, very cool. What is the coffee we're going to use for this?
We are going to use the Ethiopian washed.
The Ethiopian washed? Yeah. Okay, interesting. So you would choose to go for like a cleaner coffee than for something processed when you use the Ibrick in general? Or is this just what you feel like today?
I think you will prefer the Ethiopian
it's because I'm pretty much fair enough.
No, honestly, it's most because I think we have a perception of Ibrick that is very strange, that is not so clean. And I'd like to show you how an Ibrick can taste with a filter roast. We are using filter roast for
the same that we brewed for filter.
Yeah, of course. Okay, exactly the same. The water will be the same.
Yep.
Most of the time it's not the same. Most of the time we use water with a higher mineral content. Closer to espresso.
Yeah, okay. Just to get that kind of...
Yeah.
And you're pouring like fresh water in here now?
Yeah.
Okay, so, whoa. How much coffee?
11.5 grams.
11.5 of coffee. And then around 90 grams of room temperature water?
Yeah.
Then you're blending this?
Yeah.
Okay. And you grinded that on this as well?
As well.
And grind size?
Very fine.
Very fine.
Almost the finest.
Almost the finest. Okay, this is all happening so quick. I'm not even following myself. Okay, and then obviously you have the burner.
Yeah.
That's like an STC setup.
It is. So you can play with kind of a lot of variables with Ibrick.
Yeah.
You can play with the water. You can play not so much with the grind size, but with the ratio, of course.
Yeah.
And you can play with the flame here.
Yep.
So.
Which feels very difficult to me. As in, like, how do you actually know how much power, let's say, you have? Is it that you learn?
Just by experience, you learn. You learn. You do 2 or 3 Ibrick, a low, a middle, and a high flame, and then you taste it and you see it.
And you learn, okay.
Yeah.
And was that something very difficult when you competed?
I think,
to figure that out, or
not at the end, but until the last day, I didn't know if I was able to compete with the Paragon, because obviously it's in the cup. So you don't know, you are wasting some coffees. Maybe you could be disqualified for it.
Okay. Sure.
And the judges, they say you may use it, you can use it, but we never know. So we took the risk, and it was.
But you didn't use it in your national?
No.
No, okay. So that was a change for the World Championship.
Yeah, that's it.
And that worked out for you, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. That's very exciting.
So target extraction time? Yes.
Yeah, so why are you doing room temperature water? Why not just pour like temperatured water? What's the difference?
Otherwise it will be too quick.
Too quick? Okay.
Or I could preheat my water.
Yeah.
If I had more coffees in the Ibrick, let's say 15 grams or 20 grams, for example, of course, I will need preheated water at 50, 70 degrees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of like finish up this brew for sure, right? And then we're gonna go back and talk a little bit about the SL28 as well, just so we don't forget it. This is a pretty long, so now you're like 2 minutes. We're talking a long contact time here.
Yeah.
Is there a visual cue as well? Like you're looking for...
Yeah, you see here, it's gonna...
Starting to boil?
Yeah.
It's gonna rise? Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's when
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Cool. And then you pour directly.
You pour very fast, otherwise...
You pour very fast, okay.
Yeah, otherwise the grounded coffee will stay on the top.
And you weigh that perfectly, so that just fits great in the cup. That's awesome. And that's it.
That's it. We wait for 2 minutes, let's say.
Yeah, because this is
very hot. Yeah, it is very hot. 2 or 3 minutes. For you, maybe 3 minutes because you're not used to.
We wait for 3 minutes because I'm sensitive. Fair enough. Then we have some time to talk about this as well, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
What was the total? So you open up the valve at 140, 150?
140.
140.
Yeah, 140.
And then the total drawdown with this, I guess, goes...
It was like...
I actually missed that in the video.
150,
So almost like 10 seconds and then just...
The brew was over.
Yeah. That's part of why we made our fast filter with them as well, was really for the hybrid brewer, because as most of these kind of functional brewers, switch or whatever you want to call them, they do have a challenge with an inconsistent drawdown without a fast filter, where it obviously goes faster first and then it can really kind of slow down, right? Yeah. But with a fast filter, you just kind of like, it's going to go through so evenly and so quick, especially if you're competing, right? Then it's going to be very consistent and reliable, which is cool.
I agree.
I quite like this. Yeah,
I like it too.
I like the Ethiopian, but this is like a nice, for some reason, and again, it's like, you know, and all the love to Alejo, I know he loves his anaerobics, even though it's not really my thing, but this is a quite clean expression of it. And I think we sometimes get it with the SL28, where you have this kind of almost purple, we would call it like grandma candy in Sweden, where you have like a purple-ish caramel, like hard candy.
I know what you mean.
Which I get a lot of that in here. Yeah. In a quite nice way. A little bit winey. Yeah. But also not in a quite enjoyable way.
Not too funky, not champagne or something. Yeah.
A little bit of this kind of cacao nib, but it's not distracting, I think.
A little bit.
Because I think the acidity quality of the SL28 is so high. So it's kind of goes again, like integrates really well, and you have some of that kind of fresh fruit character, which like I quite
plum
like.
Or something.
Yep.
I think if we push the extraction, you will get more of the cacao nibs qualities. So that's why I'm keeping it simple. 1 minute's immersion is enough. Yep. 2 pours and not 3 or 4 for this reason, because I think with this kind of coffee, and it's not, I mean, it's processed, but it's not too much processed.
I mean, in the world of processed coffees, this is still a fairly small impact, right? There is impact, but it's not crazy. I've had coffees that are, let's say, more intense, right? Did we talk about water temperature? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't. 93 degrees for the washed Ethiopian.
Okay. Yep.
And 90 degrees for the Volcan Azul.
Okay.
So usually for wash, I tend to use between 93, 97.
So a little bit
Not
higher.
So much, higher. Because in my experience, I think it's difficult for the water to enter the pores of the coffee. So I want to extract more. They are not so soluble. So I want to push the extraction. Also, it's a 2-pour techniques. Yep. So if I'm like 89 or 90 degrees, I will extract nothing. Yeah. Sure. So for a washed, I like to keep it at 93 and 90 for the Volcan Azul, because I want it to stay clean and bright in certain ways. So
and you have so much, let's say, sweetness and structure in this cup as it is, right? But would you then say, just out of curiosity, let's say you brew the SL on the plastic, given that it's anaerobic, would you also move the brewing temperature? So would you use 90 on the plastic?
I would.
Yeah. And if you did based on the hybrid, you would also go up in temperature. So your temperature is pretty much only based on the coffee, not based on the brewer itself.
Not based on the brewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very fair. I think this is ready.
Yeah, I think so. So I won't remove the crema.
No?
No.
Never?
The crema is part of
the
the
experience.
Paragon as well. Yeah, it's a silky, round, full thing in the Ibrick, so it contributes to the tactile experience.
Yeah.
So I won't remove it.
Very cool. So my first experience, just also give a little bit of a shout out to Mr. Ben Rahim in Berlin. Not sure if you have you visited.
Of course.
Yeah. So when I lived in Berlin and he opened up his first shop, now he has he's taken over the Middle East and he does a lot of stuff. But he used to serve, and I went at least once a week. He used to serve Tim Bendebo filter coffee.
Amazing.
Back in the days as Ibrick. So he would take Caragotto, like Kenyan coffee from Tim, and then run it on Ibrick. And I would love that. It's like the best, let's call it espresso experience, like intense coffee experience in Berlin, hands down. Today it doesn't work with Tim Bendebo, so it's a bit different. But back in the days, I remember that as really special, actually.
Yeah, it makes sense for me to use light roast, bright coffees like Kenyan coffees or Ethiopian coffees in Ibrick.
Is there something I should think about now, or I just drink it?
You just drink it. Yeah.
The thing is, it's such an interesting, because I think a lot of people are not. I don't think a lot of people have even tasted an Ibrick, right? In terms of European, especially coffee, right?
Of course.
But it's such a. I think in the world, especially where espresso is so difficult to get in a shop, I think like an acceptable, tasty espresso.
Yeah, it is.
Shout out to Joachim at Substance. I was there today, and he served a pretty okay espresso, which was nice. It's been a while, but I think Ibrick is in a way it's like a much more forgiving.
Yeah, it is. It's easier to brew. You have less variables on the machine. Of course.
Yeah, true. It's so funny because it tastes almost more Ethiopian than the filter coffee.
Yeah.
Do you want to try?
Yeah, sure.
You have this for me, the acidity level, like you have this almost like, we talked a little bit about peach, which I did not think we got so much out of the filter coffee. Like it's a little bit more muted.
Yeah.
Here, I think it's much more defined.
Very peachy.
Like the stone fruit vibe to it.
Yeah.
A little bit like citrusy as well. Lower body also, which is cool.
Yeah, the idea with the Ibrick is to be between espresso and filter.
Yeah,
of course,
absolutely.
it's unfiltered.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The ratio is a 1:8 ratio, so it's kind of between espresso and filter.
Yeah.
You have the intensity of the espresso, but you have the subtleness of the filter.
Yeah.
Juiciness as well. You have some body, but not that much. I think it's due to the process and also the water. The water is very, very low in mineral in that case, so it's not supposed to be so low.
No, because you said you would normally do a higher, but I think this is quite nice. No?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think the cup is perfect for the Ibrick. This cup
was it designed for it?
It is. It is made by my friend Pierre de Chanterac.
No, it's his winning. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
He made it.
So with, another world champion, no?
Yeah,
very good.
Made it with Lover Mix, and he did not use it for his world championship, but I did, and I think it works perfectly for Ibrick because you see there is 3 layers here, and the ground coffee is trapped, so you have a cleaner version of the coffee. The tactile is cleaner. You don't have the grounded coffee in your mouth.
You don't get that with your And the more you drink, the like peachier it gets. Actually, which is also super nice.
That's very interesting. When drinking Ibrick, it's like from hot to the cooling cycle. You have a very nice evolution. The acidity, the body, as for filter, of course.
Yeah. Very cool. Let's do a little bit of a rundown here because we've done a lot in this video. So just like a recap. So obviously plastic brewer, hybrid brewer. You choose to do washed Ethiopian on the plastic. Just like a bit of a cleaner expression. You like the plastic because heat retention, pretty much, right? Or like the slurry stays more stable. The material doesn't absorb any temperature. Hybrid for like the bit more processed coffees. Then you find a low mineral water. 2 different temperatures.
I have a little story to add with the hybrid. brewer. 2 years ago, I was competing at the Brewers Cup in the national, and the coffees. So I blended two coffees.
Yeah.
Two coffees from Colombia. One very processed.
Yeah.
One not so much. So it was a
sure.
geisha from Finca Micava and
Yeah.
one geisha from Las Flores.
Okay. Yep.
So the coffees was beautiful in a cupping.
Yeah.
But when I brewed the coffees, 2 pour, 3 pours, 4 pour, 5
Yeah.
pours, low temperature, high temperature, different grind size, anything, I didn't get what I have in the cupping.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I tried to replicate, in a way, the cupping with the immersion. And it was more close to what I get to the cupping.
You thought that worked?
Yeah. And it works very well. Yeah.
I think that's a fair point, and I think also why immersion brewers, like what makes that so interesting, because quite often also, I mean, we know that all as roasters where, it's cuppings often taste better, or they taste worse. It's a little bit forth and back, right? Sometimes the paper filter really helps, when something is not 100% the way you want it to be. Yeah. Filtering it a little bit can help, right? But I think it's important to have the option and versatility of kind of doing both. And we'll be curious now because when we're recording this, they're like going into the World Championships in Jakarta. We have quite a few people with this brewer, also with the plastic. So I'm kind of curious to see what will come out of it. Super cool. Is there anything else that we're missing? Maybe some Paris recommendations on coffee for the people that don't know?
Of course. Please come at Terres de Cafe.
Yeah. No, of course.
Not only Terres de Cafe, I'm joking. Go to Substance. Go to Tanat. Tanat is a very good roastery in Paris. There are several shops. Go to L'Arbre Café as well. Coutume.
Which one?
L'Arbre Café.
L'Arbre Café. That's a new one for me.
The coffee trees.
No, okay.
Yeah, literally the coffee trees.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'll check it out.
It's a French roastery.
Yeah.
Go to Motors as well.
Yes.
It's coffee shops.
Yeah,
they are competing at the moment for the Brewers Cup.
Yeah, that's true.
Go to... I mean, there is a lot of...
I tried a new one today.
Tiba.
Yeah, exactly.
This one? Yeah, go to Tiba as well.
Go to Tiba. They just opened. It's kind of cool. One old April team member, Harry/Kim, he just opened up Clover.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, also here in Paris.
Yeah, not so far from here.
I haven't been myself, so I don't know. And he's close now, I think.
Yeah.
But go there. I mean, basically, I would say Paris and coffee is starting to happen, no? It's good. It's becoming really interesting.
It's very interesting, yeah.
Let's say I would choose... I mean, a little bit partial to Copenhagen, of course, but if someone would ask me where should I go and drink coffee in Europe, I'll say Paris over like London and Berlin.
Yeah,
I
think the level is very good.
Yeah.
I don't want to say competition means everything, not at all, but
no, but I think
in a way,
helps.
if you see the level of the French competitors.
Yeah.
Michael Portanier just won the roast World Championship. Last year, Charity Chang, she made it to the final in the Brewers Cup. I mean, there is a lot of very good roasteries, baristas, people involved in the coffee. So yeah.
Very cool. So check out Paris. So basically, I think we're rounding up here. A lot in this video, so watch it many times and share and comment. We're always really happy to go in and answer any questions you might have. I'm sure there's stuff we missed in this video just because we did a lot of different things. So point it out and we'll get back to you with whatever answers we need to have. Thank you for having me. Super cool. First video in Paris. We have a few more coming. Thank you guys for watching. As per always, subscribe, comment, Patreon, all of this. I'm not going to go through all of it again. With that, we just want to say thank you again. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
We want to give a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to continue to make these videos. And we want you all to feel free to always come with suggestions and ideas on the content that you want to see because we are doing this for you and because of you. Thank you from all of us here at April.